Hey guys, no video for our healthcare in Japan playlist. A couple of people on Patreon have been asking for updates on the corona situation in Japan, so we have that for you. Just before we go on though, these videos, at the moment, these videos are probably our most unpopular videos. It seems that there's a group of people who believe that the coronavirus is a conspiracy. It doesn't really exist. It's just a conspiracy to take away our rights. So those people get really angry that we're taking the virus too seriously. On the other hand, there's also a group of people who think that the coronavirus is a big conspiracy and that it's being underplayed and we're not being told the whole story, and that it's actually more dangerous than we're being told, and there's more people dying than we're being told. And so there's those people. So the ones that think that it doesn't really exist, and the ones that think it's actually more serious than we're being told. And both those groups are unhappy with our videos because this group say we don't take it seriously enough, too seriously, and this one says we take it too seriously enough. You can see the confusion. Anyway, despite that, what we have to do is cover all topics about Japan, so we can't stop and worry about who's not going to like us covering a topic, because for 10 years we've always had that problem, haven't we? Anytime we've covered a topic that we know people won't like, some people won't like, but we can't stop that. We can't let that stop us making videos about all the topics, because it's just what we do. What we say is that we make topics about anything and everything about Japan, so that includes this topic. And a couple of patrons have been asking for an update, so here it is. So, first of all, the statistics. Population of Japan is 127 million people. So far, 18,545 have tested positive. Of those 18,000, 16,563 have been discharged. So they've been treated and sent home, basically. The active cases at the moment in Japan, 1,006. Critically ill people, 37. And the number of deaths is 974. So obviously, compared to a lot of other countries, Japan's doing pretty well with it. Of course, one death is one death too many, and you know, to the people who love that person who's died, that's one death too many, of course, and 974 is an absolute tragedy, of course. But when it comes to these sorts of numbers, you know, we like to try and keep it in perspective by just looking at comparing statistics, you know, and if we compare the statistics for the amount of deaths so far in Japan from coronavirus compared to the number of road deaths in Japan during the same period, the road deaths are almost twice as many in the same period. But you know, we mentioned this recently, we get a bit frustrated with that because there's a lot of stupid stuff. We've showed you a lot of stupid stuff on the roads in Japan that no one seems to care about. You know, kids riding on passenger seats and without seat belts, and people talking on the phone and looking at their phones while they're driving, and no one seems to care about that. And every year kids die on the roads because someone's driven into them with a truck or driven into them with a car as they're walking home from school or walking to school. And every year it happens, and every year it's on television. Everyone goes, oh, isn't that terrible? And it happens every year, and it's because they don't change much about what's done on the road. So we get a bit frustrated with that. It is a bit of an issue we have because we love kids, you know, and we think kids are innocent victims. You know, if someone drives too fast on the road and runs into a telegraph pole because they're looking at their phone or something, you know, that's only affected themselves, hasn't it? Whereas when people have kids in their care and they don't look after them and the kids get killed, or someone else does something stupid that kills someone else's kids, you know, that drives us crazy. Anyway, off the topic a bit. Okay, so further news about COVID in Japan. 129 nations and regions are on a no entry list that Japan has compiled. So obviously any countries that are, you know, having trouble with big numbers of COVID victims, patients, have either been totally banned from coming to Japan or have very strict restrictions placed on them. So there's been some talk of a travel bubble being made between Japan and some other countries, including Australia and New Zealand and might have been Mexico. Can't be Mexico. Could have been Mexico and Vietnam and a couple other countries that seem to have it under control. That Japan's talked about having a travel bubble where people can travel to Japan and stay within a certain area and stay at certain hotels, and mostly for business and for reasons that they have to come, rather than just to tourism. But they are also talking about working out how that tourists can come as well, you know, from some countries that have sort of got it under control. So that's all a bit up in the air, but they're working on it. They're keen to do it. They're keen to get people coming back to Japan as soon as possible, but they're being really careful because they've sort of got things a little bit under control here, and they obviously don't want to blow it by bringing a lot of sick people in, you know. So most businesses in Japan are back to normal, or a lot of businesses in Japan are back to normal. Some are doing actually very well. Businesses that have takeaway food and things like that are doing very well. Others are just doing, you know, sort of similar to what they're doing before, but there are a lot that are still suffering, including us, incidentally. Our real job, our income's about half what it used to be, so we're struggling a little bit, and we've actually lost a lot of patrons on Patreon because they've obviously lost their incomes. Patreon has actually, when people leave Patreon, there's an exit survey and they say, why are you leaving? And, you know, I didn't like the creator, or, you know, I don't have any money or something. And they've actually added affected by COVID-19 as one of the options, one of the boxes that they can tick, and quite a few have been ticking that box. So if you're not supporting us on Patreon, please, please support us on Patreon. You would not believe it. But anyway, we're sort of struggling a little bit at the moment. We have a corkboard we put the bills on. We've got to a point now where we put them all on the corkboard and then we decide which ones are the most urgent. You know, oh, we need electricity, let's pay the electricity bill. But of course, some of you guys watching will be in a similar situation. Some probably in a worse situation. I mean, there's a lot of people struggling at the moment, isn't there? What I'd encourage you guys, just really briefly, if you're still in a reasonably good situation, I really strongly encourage you to support the people who are not. So whether that's supporting us on Patreon, or whether that's, we've been trying to encourage people on the English Friendly Directory to support those businesses that are struggling. So bars or restaurants that have been closed and have just opened again, or online shops and things like that. Anything you can do to support those businesses would be really good. If your situation is still okay, any money that you can spend buying something from someone else, something you get benefit from too, is good. Buying something from someone else, or going to a restaurant or a bar or something, if you can, just support those people, you know. Yep, okay. Just some, we were talking about last time about some contradictions and paradoxes that we've seen. A lot of you guys have probably seen this in your own countries as well. The inconsistent way, lots of the measures and precautions are sort of, on this hand they have this. So for example, we went to a yakiniku restaurant, right? And they didn't have any menus because they said because of COVID. So they didn't have any menus, and they didn't have a salad bar because of COVID, right? Because of COVID. The weirder, sir, because of the weirder, sir. No menus, you just have to look at a piece of paper. No menus and no salad bar. But then the guy opened the oshiburi, so you know they have the cloth in the sealed plastic bag. Traditional way, or what they normally do, is they open the plastic bag and they take out the oshiburi and offer it to you, right? And to each customer as you sit down, when you first sit down, right? And instead of changing that procedure, because obviously that's not a terribly good procedure to have, he's still doing it. So he tears it open, he takes out the cloth and hands it to you, and then he tears open the other one, takes out the cloth, hands it to the next person. It was in a sealed plastic bag. If he just handed it to each of us, right? I mean, to be honest, we think that this area, you know, there's no active cases in this area at all. So, and in this prefecture, there's like 50 active cases or less. There's less than 50. Can't remember how many it is in this whole prefecture of 20 million people. So we're really not worried at all. But it's just this, on the one hand, you know, you can't have a menu, you can't have a salad bar, but you've got 10 sauce bottles there that everybody's been using, and you can use them, right? You've got alcohol at the entrance when you come in to wash your hands, but then we tear open these bags and hand you the little thing and go to the round on the next table and do the same thing. There's a lot of that. The dojo was a funny one too. Went into the dojo, finally opened. Yay! Went into the dojo, and they had this funny system where the exit and the entrance had been divided up with plastic sheets and stuff, and you walk in and usually there's this big open area. We showed you this dojo once before. Big open area with lots of seats. All the seats are gone, and there's yellow like police tape up everywhere. Don't go here, don't go there. Went to go in the changing room to change clothes. Changing room's got a piece of yellow tape across it. Can't go in the changing room. I said to the old guy, where do we get changed? He said, oh, in the dojo. So in the dojo where the men, the women and the kids all are, we all have to go in there and get changed, right? So the change room is dangerous, the seats are dangerous, but then we go in the dojo, the judo people have been in there for a couple of hours sweating all over the tatami mat, right? And then we go in, and because we're throwing each other and pinning each other, Aikido class, pinning each other to the tatami. So our faces are getting pinned to the tatami where all the sweat is from the other 50 judo people and the other 30 Aikido people, right? So it's okay to rub each other's sweat on each other's faces, but let's not use the same changing room. You know, it's obviously very confusing that the old guys who make all the decisions here obviously have really no idea, because this is unprecedented, isn't it? And logic and common sense are not really something that's ever encouraged in Japan. It's a system where the people at the top tell the people below them what to do, and procedures are followed. So in this situation, unless there's clear procedures being laid down by someone above, no one really knows what to do. And then you end up with all these strange, I spent a lot of time walking around shaking my head, because it's like, on one hand you got this, and on the other hand you got that. What are you talking about, you know? So anyway, but I mean, in the big picture, we're doing really well. Japan's doing really well. For the reasons we've talked about before, touching each other in Japan is something people don't usually do anyway. Washing hands all over the place is 100 times a day is something Japanese people have already done, always do. Our first video about Japanese people wearing masks we made about 10 years ago. You know, wearing masks has been a standard in Japan for decades. So that's not a difficult thing for Japanese people to do anyway. I mean, it's not a socially strange thing to do. You see people in masks here all the time, like we showed you 10 years ago. Masks here are standard. Some people wear them because of hay fever. Some people wear them because they have a cold, don't want to spread a cold. Some people wear them because they don't want to catch a cold. But a lot of people wear them as a sort of a social crutch, as sort of a social shield to hide themselves from society. It's a true story. We know people who do it. And so what it means is that most people here are very comfortable wearing masks, no problem at all, but there are also some people here who love it. And we've got friends and family and neighbours that wear their masks now all the time, because it's sort of given them an excuse. You know, we know particularly some teenage girls in our family, and they're shy, you know, and they wear their masks every opportunity they get. And so this has been a thing for them where, you know, they're all tailor-making masks out of, you know, different designs and different colours, and, you know, the dudes are wearing these black ones because they're cool, and the girls are wearing different kitty-chan ones and all cute. And some people are wearing them like 24 hours a day. And out here in the middle of nowhere, you'll see one person walking along on their own out here wearing their mask. Very common in the cars. When we do our car videos, watch the cars going past the other way, and you'll see one person driving in their car wearing their mask. And they'll just put it on in the morning and just wear it all day, everywhere they go. Walking on their own in the countryside, or sitting on their own in the car, or, you know, out. We go to parks and beaches and places like that, big open spaces. People are miles from each other wearing their masks. You know, so they sort of love it. There's some people who really love it, you know, and now they've got an excuse, because we know some people, particularly those teenage kids, but other people as well, who don't like taking their mask off. And when they get in a situation where they've got to take their mask off, they've got to feel, normally, you know, this is before COVID, they sort of shy about taking their mask off and put it back on at the first opportunity. Now they don't have to take it off. So there's a whole bunch of people here now who are really happy to be able to wear their mask all the time, and considered to be socially responsible for doing so, right? So, so you can see why it's been easier for Japan to get on top of it than for some other countries, for those reasons. I mean, a culture where people don't touch each other anyway, a culture where people are constantly washing their hands anyway. We made a video about that years ago as well. It's just what they do. Every time they come home, wash their hands and gargle. You know, it's a thing that people do constantly all day long. And then wearing of the mask thing is what people do anyway. Staying away from other people, you know, everyone's comfortable with that. So it sort of comes really naturally to them, you know. Yeah, the mask sort of become a bit of a fashion accessory thing. I hear big discussions, people having big discussions about their masks. Oh, I like your mask. Yeah, I made it out of this, or my mother made it, or my friend made it, or big discussions, big fashion statements. And then because Facebook too, we actually made a video ages ago about Facebook and how people here have, you know, have a picture of themselves, very common for a Japanese person's profile image to be them wearing a mask, which we made a video about a long time ago, saying they're sort of missing the point about the Facebook and about the profile picture, you know, because you don't even know who it is, this person with their mask like that. But now, of course, now again, that's become socially responsible. It's not hikikomori or you know, socially awkward or anything like that. It's socially responsible. So you got all these people on Facebook with their picture of themselves wearing their mask, you know, and then you get the picture of them and their family out to dinner and everyone's wearing their mask. And we're sort of laughing about this recently because we went to the castle. You guys saw the video about Hikone Castle, and we went there, and it wasn't busy. There was hardly anyone there, and there was all these people standing in front of the castle, having their photos taken in front of the castle, wearing their masks. So, like, you know, the lady standing there and her husband's taking a photo of her. No one's within 50 yards or 100 yards of them, you know, but the husband's there taking the photo of the wife wearing a mask up to here, which sort of defeats the purpose. Here's the missus at Hikone Castle, or maybe it's someone else. Here's someone, a picture of someone standing in front of a castle. Sort of seems to defeat the purpose, doesn't it? Defeat the purpose of taking the photo in the first place if you don't know who it is in the photo. Or a group, there's on Facebook, some people we know, and there's a group of these university students off doing something. University students in Japan deserve their own video. We'll do that one day because they're funny. But here's this group of university students having a barbecue somewhere, you know, and all of them standing there quite far apart from each other, but all wearing their masks. And again, who's in the picture? You know, no idea. No idea who it is. So anyway, it's all good. Again, our focus has been trying to help you guys that are sort of stuck and aren't getting out very much. We're trying to show you as much out stuff as we can. Hey, by the way, that's why we went to Hikone. It's our patrons, our 198 patrons on Patreon. It's because of you guys that we went to Hikone. So we waited up. There's a cost of the freeway to get there. It was actually the most expensive cost. It was about 8,000 yen, so it's almost $100. And the cost of getting in, and you know, you end up spending money when you do a thing like that. The only when we discussed it, we came to the conclusion that we'd do it, and it was because of the 198 people on Patreon, because we decided that you guys are supporting us to make videos about things like that, and that we'd been making lots of videos like this, but you can only look at so many videos of rice fields, can't you? So that we justified it. Right, no, we'll go for the day. We went in the morning, we came back at night, and it was only because of the 198 people on Patreon that we did it. The only way we could afford it was because of you guys, and then we justified it by saying we'll take some video while we're there. We'll get some interesting videos, and that'll be appreciated by some of the people on Patreon that are stuck at home, you know. So 100% because of you guys. So just a quick plug again, plugging this shamelessly, guys, because it's really important. We've got a young family. You know, we're struggling. The way it was before, Patreon was important to us, but now it's totally essential. You know, try and get some of those bills down off the corkboard. So if your situation's not too bad at the moment and you can afford to support the channel on Patreon, we're doing our best to keep the videos and the photos interesting and to try and keep you guys as entertained as possible with Japan. I mean, that's our topic, you know, and just show you as much as we can about Japan to keep you entertained. In return for your support. So if you haven't not on Patreon yet, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We really appreciate it, you know. So that was it. That was the COVID update, an unashamed plug for our Patreon support, and a bit of a view of the lake. So we'll show you a little bit of the lake and then a bit of a pan around. You can see what's behind you over there. Just been watching one of those big cranes over there and a crow sitting looking at each other in the field. Show you that. Anyway, have a bit of a look around and enjoy that, and we'll make more videos coming soon.